Hello, everyone. Welcome to an all-new episode of the LoudCasa Talks. My name is Nate, and alongside is my good buddy Omid.
Hey, what's up, Loud Crowd and Casa Crew? How y'all doing?
All right, so just a little heads up. We are doing a little mini episode because we want to split our LoudCasa Talks from having a very long 2-hour session to now 1 hour each. So this is why we're making our mini episodes again, so we can talk more about our episode reviews and previews, especially with all the new episodes of The Loud House and the Casagrandes that happened last week. We want to have a good, full, thorough episode discussion about it. And of course, preview our newest episodes coming out this week. So first off, Omid, how have you been? It's only been like a week since we've met. So how have you been?
Oh, well, trust me. Hey, if you ask me, let me tell you, this week has been pretty much about the same, really. Same job.
Not much happened, huh? Yeah.
Same job, same house, same friends, same life, same everything pretty much. The only thing I can say that is really different for the rest is that this time around, this past weekend, I've seen the AFC and NFC championships this past weekend. And while the Super Bowl matchup is not quite what I had hoped, I am very confident that the Super Bowl game will be so engaging to watch. And especially when I'm watching it with my brother.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Hey, safe travels, by the way, because your brother lives in Las Vegas, and that's kind of another state away from us.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's just can't wait to see my brother again. And also, go Buccaneers! Woo!
Go Bucks. No, definitely, because I was rooting for a Packers, what was the other team? Bills championship. And was really thinking the Bills would actually make it to the championship, but that didn't happen. So I'm pretty sad about that. But you know what? I'm gonna go for Bucks. And that's my Super Bowl. It was not a bad. I can't really say much because it's not the Niners going to the Super Bowl. So
I wanted Packers and Bills too, but it ended up going in a different direction entirely. So
exactly. Right? Don't worry about it. At least we'll be celebrating, the Super Bowl somehow, some way. At least you're heading off to another state. Hope, like I said, safe travels to you. And I guess I'll be home, just hanging out here while you guys have fun in Las Vegas. All right. Without further ado, let's head over to our episode reviews, and let's go ahead and talk about our first episode. Where did that go? Here we go. First episode is Cow Pie Kid. All right, so synopsis here is that Lynn pushes Liam to his limits when he becomes the star pitcher for the middle school team. So first off, a very weird combination. We never expected to see Lynn Jr. and Liam working together, but here we are in an episode like this. So did you expect this kind of meeting between these two characters?
That's actually the $1 million question. Like, who in here, honestly, who in the Loud House fandom really expected Lynn and Liam, of all characters, to pair up together? Isn't that a little weird? Like, honestly, between Lisa Flip and Lynn and Liam, this is honestly a season of weird pairings for episodes, if you ask me. I mean, what's next? A Lori and Stella episode?
Hey. That's going to be my ultimate episode, okay? Yeah. Are you trying to tease me there or something?
Let's just say I know a certain someone who is smiling with glee, just thinking about that kind of idea. I'm currently talking to him right now. I'm talking to him right now.
Bruh. Really, I'm going to be like, freaked out if Lori and look, what if it's an episode where Lori talks about Lincoln and Stella gets all amused by it? But Stella can ships are going all over the place. Look, I know that's not gonna happen, but we'll see. Maybe they might do an episode like that. Stella needs to hang out with more girls. But yeah, coming into this episode, I never expected to actually see a Liam and Lynn episode, because I always get to see Liam in an episode where he did have an episode called Past Your Bedtime, and it just explains more about Liam being a farm kid. Now he's in Cow Pie Kid, now playing baseball. So, yeah, I never expected to see a combination like this where Lynn and Liam would actually work together, but somehow it kind of works, knowing that he actually can pitch and stuff.
It surprisingly does, yeah.
I would say, like, you never expect a combination like this. What's next to see from Lincoln's friends to another sister? Maybe Lucy hanging out with Zach, hanging out with, like, possible weird, spiritual
supernatural
stuff.
Supernatural stuff. I can kind of see that. Lori hanging out with Stella.
I know. You're gonna get me on that. Okay, so the episode begins, and we get to see Lynn in her sporty mood, angry at losing, hitting a goat because it's mocking her, bad picture, et cetera, et cetera. How did you like that they continued the character trait for Lynn?
Honestly, I really love how the animators and voice actress Jessica Tisico herself really do capture the realistic emotions that an athlete feels whenever their team loses. Anger, disappointment, shame, fear of losing more games. And as someone who watches sports myself, like I watch NFL and NBA, you do too, Nate, I can
Uh-huh.
definitely say that this episode really does nail how athletes truly feel about their game losses.
Yeah. So the other thing too is that you get to see that sporty Lynn that we always know and love, and you know what? I love the fact that they can keep on keeping that character trait of Lynn. Like, I know that she could be really hot-headed. She could get angry. You can see that in a lot of episodes, like on Thin Ice, for example, where she gets pissed off of her team losing and things like that. And you get to see this more in Cow Pie Kid, where you get to see Lynn also get pissed off about losing, and they need to have like a spark or something. And for her being a team captain, it makes sense for her to do things like this. I just love the fact that they, kept that trait for her. There's nothing changed for the aggressiveness that is Lynn Loud.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I will give credit, like right here, like they don't go way too overboard. Like Lynn doesn't go like like Lynn doesn't go way too overboard, way too hot headed. Like there are times when she does remain calm. She does remain, depressed, as we've seen like in uh, the scene where Lynn is in Lynn Senior's car,
Mm-hmm.
and then you see Lynn kind of like hanging her head in shame,
Yep. Yep. She
like
was gonna she's gonna eventually like punch the radio.
yeah, yeah. That's the closest thing to hot headed that she got when she was in the band.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, I love the fact that they kept the character trait for Lynn, and it's been showing up here in this episode. So let's move on to another subject here. How we get to see Liam. He turns out to be a great pitcher by throwing cow pies at people. Turns out doing stuff at the farm will get you far. So how'd you like Liam in this new role pitching for Lynn's team?
When I first saw Liam's pitching skills, I was really intrigued, and I wanted to see where this episode would go from there. I mean, really, who would have thought that labor work at a farm can really boost up your athleticism? But then again, when you do think about it, farm work and playing sports do share a common trait. They both do build character. So honestly, when you put two and two together, it kind of does make sense when you think about it. It makes me proud of how Liam has found a place in his school, since technically there's really nothing left for him at his middle school other than Lincoln's friend group, but that's really about it. So it's nice to see Liam have his own place outside of Lincoln's friend group.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is that you never get to see more character emphasis on like secondary characters. But I know that the writers are doing their best to at least give more character depth on certain characters. Like you get to see Stella in her episode Tales of Woe. You get again, Liam gets emphasized here in this episode. Now I'm kind of wondering if we're going to have more emphasis episodes for secondary characters, just like maybe have a Rusty episode or a Zach episode if possible. Just the fact that they keep on emphasizing more of Liam in this case makes me think that the writers are going on a good sense here of giving more character for every character besides Louds or anyone of the main character there. And I'm just pretty happy that they worked more with Liam here, making him become a good pitcher. So to say the least, he has a good hand. I would imagine he would continue pitching in a future episode for the Loud House if that's possible. I mean,
Yeah,
I mean that'd be cool.
I want to see more of
Continue the
that.
trait there. Yeah.
I want to see more of that. I want to see more of Liam being in Lynn's softball team, like in future episodes. I think that will happen.
Yeah, I mean, Liam has a brand new place. I mean, besides being a farm boy, you could continue being a pitching star.
True that.
All right. Another question I want to bring up. Now he turns out to pitch all the games for Lynn's team, and well, it has its setbacks with aches and pains. Luckily, he had his sisters help him out with his situation. So throughout the episode, you get to see his sisters try to help out Liam's situation where he had like a bad noodle arm. How were you reacting through this part where the sisters just helped out Lynn and Liam in their situation?
I'm really glad that Lynn's other sisters, Lucy and Lisa, were in this episode as well. And not only are they in the episode, but they do serve a purpose to the story, and they do help Liam and Lynn out with the situation. With Lisa, it's pretty much doing her usual science stuff and just zapping Liam's arm and pretty much analyzing how Liam's arm is doing while in the middle of the game. While Lucy pretty much performs a spell to help Liam so that he can pitch without feeling any pain whatsoever. So honestly, like this really does play a strength. Like this is the strength that plays in other solo Loud centric episodes, is that they keep the Loud siblings to a minimum. Honestly, I think this is what every Loud sister centric episode needs. Like, have 2 or 3 extra Louds to help the main Loud with a situation or dilemma. It's kind of like how Lisa helped Luna in Road to Nowhere, or how Lincoln and Lori helped Lenny out in Everybody Loves Lenny. I really do love the episode. Now, don't get me wrong, okay? I love the episodes where all the Louds do group up, but really, it's the solo Loud episodes that matter more to me. They always say more is less and less is more. One issue I do have, however, is that I wish that Lincoln would also appear in this episode, since, of course, Liam is his friend and Lynn is his sister. So, honestly, I think it would have been beneficial if Lincoln actually did make an appearance in this. Like, have Lincoln appear in the episode so that he can give his sister an earful whenever she pressures Liam, or she pretty much puts his arm in danger just in pursuit of winning a championship. I think like Lincoln would have worked perfectly with that, saying, to Liam, you don't have to do this or anything like that. And then later on, like I said, Lincoln gives Lynn an earful because, she's exploiting her friend, like making his arm hurt in a sense.
Right. I mean, yeah, I would love to see a episode. I mean, like this episode would be a little bit better with Lincoln supporting Liam and his hurt arm, to say the least. Like, it's just something out of the ordinary where you get to see one of Lincoln's friends just hang out with Loud sisters, and you know what? It turned out to be pretty heartwarming, to say. Just the fact that a sister has a situation, so she has to bring in her other sisters to help out in the situation, and especially when it's another character that is not allowed. So they brought in Liam and they did all this kind of stuff to hopefully heal his arm, and I think the chemistry there was pretty cool, just to have the Loud sisters just help anybody out, like in Liam's situation in this case. And it just tells me how compassionate the Louds are, and like how they can be helpful for every Loud sister. And I'm just happy that the fact that this sort of chemistry comes into play for every Loud sister just hanging out and just try to help out in every situation, just helping each sister out. And I thought that was pretty cool.
I think so too. I definitely do think so.
Most definitely. All right. So in the end, Liam's problem didn't get resolved and ends up with Lynn switching Liam with Paula. Now, this became a really, how to say this? This became a real game changer, not just for the game, but for Lynn. So did your feelings for Lynn get better during this scene?
This episode made me manage to respect Lynn even more as a team captain and an athlete, and as a character. Especially since she made the right decision to bench Liam. The fact that she put the safety and well-being of her fellow teammate over a championship win is what truly makes her a winner in my book, whether she won the game or not. I would not imagine season 2 Lynn doing something like this. If anything, season 2 Lynn would have continued to push Liam even more until he would literally lose his arm and have it broken for life. However, this modern version of Lynn managed to show humility and humanity. And I will tell you this, between this, Net Games, and Hero Today, Gone Tomorrow, among others, Lynn Loud has proven to be one of the most developed characters I've seen in the Louds, believe it or not. Um, like she's definitely a breath of fresh air right now, as opposed to the early seasons, like seasons 1 and 2.
Look, the fact that Lynn is continuing to learn and all. And yeah, she gets so hot-headed, she'll get angry at losing games or, not getting things right for her sports team, but that's her character. But the other thing too is that she's learning humility. Like she's learning that it's not all about losing, it's not all about winning. Oh, sorry, it's not all about winning and losing and stuff like that. It's all about respect for your teammates. And when I think like it just learns she just learns from it when she continues to keep having Liam start every game, and of course making them to the championship. And of course, Liam would actually hurt his arm. I mean, like I understand because I know baseball, and pitchers don't pitch every game. They always have rest days, so it makes sense why Liam got into this injury. And of course, as a team captain, Lynn has to make some changes, and she still ended up losing, but at the same time, it's a decision that she had to take. She would take the loss, but at the same time, it's like she's learning. She's learning that she's going to deal with the losses and things like that. So I can totally see that Lynn is changing for the better, and I hope that they continue working on Lynn's character and making her better than she is previously.
Yeah, I think that like they're continuing to do that. Like ever since season 3, they managed to do it like even more and build the character up even more. So I would imagine that in the future episodes, they'll continue to do so too. They're not going to have her revert back to her old season 1 or season 2 self. No, they're going to continue to have her grow.
And look, we've had those episodes where Lynn does get selfish. You get to see here today, gone tomorrow. She gets selfish for the fame. On thin ice, where she gets angry at her an ice skating team losing. Look, that's her character. But the other thing too is that I just want to see improvement for her, and I think this really shows well in Cowpie Kid.
Yeah, exactly. Like they managed to have her stay in character while learning lessons and growing humility. Like it's not just one or the other. Like I'm glad that they're doing both with the character as well as the majority of Lato's characters too.
Oh yeah. All right. So, anything else you want to bring up in this episode?
One weird thing that I have noticed is that while I do commend Lynn for her heroic deed at the end, it's weird how while Liam was benched for having an injury on his arm, somehow she just had Paula pitch with no problems, despite the fact that she's clearly injured herself, and even more so than Liam. I mean, she's in a cast, for God's sake. She's in a cast, really. So isn't that just a bit double standard, or is it just me?
Anyway. You know what? I mean, Paula still pitched even before Liam joined the team. So I think it was like a necessary move or something, or maybe like just like the other teammates just doesn't know how to throw or something. And of course, Lynn cannot throw because she got banned for pitching after hitting a goat. So
yeah, it's true. I'm like, there could have been like a fourth pitcher, but that's just me. Anyways, I'm gonna give this an 8.5 out of 10. This is definitely it's definitely a fun Lynn-centric episode, and she and Liam have managed to work off each other very well. Also, Liam himself is really great as well. And I'm not just talking about pitching, but it's just his overall positive attitude and how dedicated he is to give his team as much wins as possible makes him such a great team player. Liam is very likable in this episode, which is a lot more than I could say for his next appearance in the next episode. We're going to talk about.
Let me put my review up too. Okay, so I got to give it an 8 out of 10. I did not expect this chemistry with Liam and Lynn to be pretty good, I must say, and the fact that we continue to learn more about Liam. And besides the fact that he's a farm boy and he has a lot of animals and things like that, he showed off that he can also become a team player, and he did really well with it. And I believe that he can continue to become a baseball player in this sense. And the other thing too is that he also loves sports. If you didn't notice, he also did play basketball in one of the episodes. I think it was the Loudest Yard where you get to see Liam play basketball. But yeah, he's a sporty guy, and we get to see more of that. And just the fact that the chemistry between Lynn and Liam are cool, it makes me think that Liam is a really cool guy. Just makes me, think more that Liam is a really cool dude. And the fact that we have an episode about that just emphasizes that more,
Yeah, it's true. And hey, Nate, any thoughts you want to bring up in terms of the Lynn and Liam ship?
Oh no. Look, you guys can do that. You guys can be shippers of that, but no, I'm not a shipper of that.
Yeah, no, I rather see them as just platonic friends and teammates. That's all.
They're in middle school. They're in middle school, but no. You know what? Liam has a better chance with Girl Jordan than Lynn.
Yeah,
where's Francisco? Where's that continuation?
You want Jordium? You want Jordium?
Yes. All right. Besides that, I don't want to get into the fandom part here. Let's move on to our next episode. Our next episode is called Saved by the Spell. Our synopsis here reads, Lincoln's friends tries to stop him from performing a magic act in the middle school talent show. So from the first scenes, we know that Lincoln continues to do his magic, a thing that he has done for so long. If you've not seen a couple episodes before, if you have not seen Antiqued Off, if you've not seen, the Horoscope, and a lot of other episodes that continue to show off Lincoln's magic, love for magic. And by the way, we have continuity in the Loud House, really?
We've had it since season 3, so
right. I can't believe it. They're continuing more with continuity. Holy crap! Okay.
Continuity.
How did you like Lincoln's continuation of his love for magic shown in this episode?
I'm really glad that this is the first thing that we're talking about, because we want to start off with some positivity before we get to the elephant in the room in terms of this episode. But in terms of Lincoln's continuation for his love for magic shown in this episode, honestly, I really like it. I really do. Like, honestly, like, one positive thing I can say about this episode is that it's Lincoln himself that is the best part, because he's so passionate about magic. He's so passionate about what he loves. It's just like he has this positivity. He has this passion for the things that he loves, which we have seen throughout this series, whether it be Ace Savvy, art, and now magic. And he has such fun doing it. The first 2 minutes of Lincoln performing magic with his sisters, like making the pancakes disappear, like that was golden. Like, I want to see more of that Lincoln, the confident Lincoln, the passionate Lincoln, the magical Lincoln. Like, oh my God, he was such a delight to watch in this episode. And also Lenny, when she sees the pancakes gone, it's like, ooh, that was delicious. Why am I so hungry? It's like, you didn't need the pancakes at all. And then of course you got Lola calling Lincoln Houdini. You got Lisa. No, you got Lana eating pancakes. Like, Lincoln's not the only one who can make these disappear. It's like, oh my God, I just loved it. I just loved the 2 minutes of this episode. That the episode did start out really good. It had a really good fresh start.
Well, the other thing too is that Lincoln is just a kid, and yeah, he is in junior high, middle school, but his love for stuff continues to show. Like, you get to see him love Ace Savvy, you get to see him love Spies, and he gets a huge passionate fan love about it. I mean, like us, for example, loving cartoons and anime and other things. So it's like he's like showing off his nerdy side, and he did it so well in Magic. And then the other thing too is like, he's getting better and better in Magic. You get to see it so much. I mean, look, he tried to disappear, but his clothes disappeared instead. He did a magic trick where he disappeared pancakes, and it worked out. So to say the least, like, he could have gotten a great show out of it. And yeah, it just feels like with all the practice that he's been doing, maybe mostly with Ronnie Ann, that I can totally see that. You can totally see that Lincoln is just passionate for Magic, and it's showing off here in this episode.
Yeah, honestly, I agree. Like, Lincoln's not my most favorite character in this series. Like, I don't think he would be considered top 10, honestly. But honestly, I have to agree. That's one of Lincoln's strongest traits, is that, like, in a way, he kind of represents us in a way in terms of being into geeky stuff and all that stuff. Like Lincoln, that part of Lincoln represents us. So that's what makes Lincoln a bit relatable.
You can look back at Kings of the Con. I mean, that pretty much represents us there.
Pretty much.
Don't talk about the episode. We made an episode about another viewpoint of Kings of the Con. Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
honestly, yeah.
So continuity also does have its bad side. His friends still don't like magic. If y'all remember from Antiqued Off, his friends didn't want to go to Lincoln's magic show. Even Clyde himself didn't want to go to Lincoln's magic show. So since they know that he was going to do a magic show in front of the middle school, they assume it might be embarrassing. So they did all they could do to convince him out of it, like mind manipulation, stealing magic tricks, and even dressing up as a yodel boy. Thank you, Stella. Oh, it's okay. Explain your part. Explain this part here.
Oh boy. I have a lot to say about this part. And I mean a lot. A lot. Honestly, I'm going to say this. I was incredibly disappointed in Lincoln's friends in this episode. They are what truly bring us down this episode by a peg. Now look, I get it. Okay? I get it. Middle school isn't exactly the most friendly and accepting place in society. And I do get what Lincoln's friends are trying to do. And I get why they're trying to do it, what they're trying to do, of course. I will say, they did have good intentions. Yeah, they did have good intentions. They're Lincoln's friends. But, as the old saying goes, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And oh boy, this episode definitely makes that statement hold up. First off, there's that toxic mentality that I really hate. That if one is into anything geeky or childish, that makes a person a loser or whatnot. And I'm here to call bullcrap because of what I just mentioned before, but also because everyone at some point has that one thing that is special to them that is considered geeky. And it shouldn't be taken away from them because of their reputation at school or whatnot. Honestly, they should be allowed to enjoy whatever they want. And Lincoln's friends' preconceived notions that Lincoln's magic tricks are childish and making him a laughing, and that the Lincoln's magic tricks are going to make him a laughingstock in school really contributes to that mentality. Just the amount of lengths that they will go to try to stop that Lincoln from doing what he loves, it is just heartbreaking to watch. Heartbreaking. I really thought that Lincoln's friends were better than this. I really did. Second off, oh my God, do not get me started on Yodel Boy.
Oh, but I like Yodel Boy. I like Yodel Boy because it's my favorite person. Not just joking. I don't know. I don't know. This was Stella's weakest part here.
Oh my god. And also Johanna Yonana. What?
I know what kind of name. What kind of name is that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not a creative one at all. Not a creative one at all.
No. I don't know. Like, what were you thinking? Still, I get it. You want to be like a Yodel person, but this doesn't work here. You could have done a better name, like that.
Exactly. The name is stupid. It's so uncreative. It's so uninspiring. Like, honestly, it really surprises me how Yodel Boy and Yodel Boy's backstory, they are all thought of by, a smart girl like Stella. Like, isn't Stella supposed to be smarter than this? I don't know. Third off, there could have been much better ways to write this kind of plot. There are many ways that you could have done this better. Like, maybe have Yodel Boy be a real character, and he explains to Lincoln's friends about his tragic backstory and make them worry that the same thing might happen to Lincoln. See, that would have had them still trying to save Lincoln's reputation without them coming off as douchebags. Or maybe have their main goal in mind, which is to have the entire group dance, then have them try to stop Lincoln's magic tricks purely and only because they can't dance without Lincoln. Or another good motivation for stopping Lincoln's magic tricks could be this. It could be this. Have Lincoln perform a magic trick that is so chaotic that his friends try to stop him from doing magic tricks because they fear his magic tricks are dangerous and could end up blowing up the whole school. Just anything else, any other circumstance would have been so much better than what we got here. honestly, Lincoln said it best when he said, middle school does change people, even those who you thought to be your best friends. Honestly, that whole statement right there pretty much sums up this entire episode perfectly.
Wow. Much a lot of words from Omid here, but I understand that he was already frustrated with this point here. I do agree here that his friends should have known better, that, you should just give Lincoln a chance because he's so passionate with magic that he did a really good job with the show. The thing is that, I understand from a before aspect of continuity that, the whole trait of them not liking magic continues on in middle school, but I think he just went to a little peak, went to the top here where his friends just continue to do something to sabotage his performance at the end. And, you're not helping him as a friend, by the way, just taking away all this stuff or making him not do a show and do a dance altogether and things like that. Look, Lincoln is great with magic. I mean, we get to see that in the last scenes of the episode, but the fact that, the fact that they continue to understand that, they hate that. They just didn't like magic. And the other thing too is that they try their best to defend him, because if you get to see all his magic tricks that he showed off with his friends, they don't turn out to be not good. I mean, like he was in a gym where he did a magic trick and he pretty much showed up in his underwear. That's already embarrassing. So it makes sense why his friends got to do this. But they should have understand this a little bit more, that, Lincoln is so passionate to this that they have to agree with it instead of doing all this thing to sabotage it, which they eventually did, and of course ruined a friendship that Lincoln didn't like and all. So I don't know. It just makes me think that it's a bad look for this group of friends. I mean, even like Stella, for example, like she's awesome and she's smart. She even did the whole Yodel Boy bit that I thought was pretty cool, but not necessarily needed there.
Everything about the Yodel Boy. Everything about the Yodel Boy bit is just completely stupid. But honestly, in terms of from creative aspect and also from a in-story aspect as well, like the reason why Stella's doing this in the first place, like honestly, that makes it even more embarrassing.
Yeah. So the other thing too is that this makes sense that Stella would do this just because I don't know. This makes me think that she's the smartest character there now. Look, everybody else is doing their thing, and then Stella would do this Yodel Boy aspect and end up convincing Lincoln to not do the magic trick. And I'm like, okay, you are the smartest girl ever.
She's supposed to be. Like, honestly, she's supposed to be. And if she really was, I mean, at least in this episode, like, honestly, I feel that she would have just sided with Lincoln and, called the boys out and say, this is not right. Let Lincoln do, his own thing. That would have been the smart thing to do.
Yeah, but then again, like I said, she was also one of the people that didn't like magic that Lincoln, portrays. So
it's one thing to not like magic, but it's also another thing to do exactly what they were doing in this episode. That's an entirely different thing.
I guess. But the other thing too is that, look, you get to see like their perspective of why they didn't want Lincoln to have magic just because, they just don't like it, or it could be embarrassing, especially when you want to have your first look into middle school. You don't want to have like a big blow up in magic, just like what Yodel Boy is trying to say there. They want to have a first reputation of you being embarrassed in middle school. But like I said, his best friends need to, back him up and do something like that instead of just saying, hey, don't do this. I know you love this, but I don't think this is going to be good for you in middle school.
Also, Clyde, who are you to judge, okay? Who are you to talk, okay? Clyde, you're into Ace Savvy and art, okay? You are not one to talk, son. You are not one to talk.
Oh my God, Clyde. I don't know. I mean, Clyde is trying his best to even not like that. I don't know. This was interesting. All right, moving on. I mean, we're going to talk more about this, but let's move on here. So eventually Lincoln would find out about his friends doing this to stop him from doing his magic tricks. Obviously, he would be so upset and would not dance with the squad. Instead, the squad danced without him and stopped performance because they were just too guilty for Lincoln, which makes sense for them to, to stop the show. And it's obvious that they were going to eventually happen. What were your thoughts about what happened here in this sequence?
Okay, now, as much as I have ranted about how horrible their behaviors were in this episode, I have to say, I give major props to Lincoln's friends for coming to the realization that what they have done was wrong, even though it was out of good intentions. This really shows that they really do care about Lincoln. Whether the methods were good or bad, they really do mean well at the end of the day. And, just because they have done wrong in this episode doesn't necessarily make them bad friends overall. It just means that sometimes they go the wrong way about it. I think that's the case with any friendship. Well, the non-healthy ones, at least. We have seen in other episodes, like previous episodes, that Lincoln's friends have always been there for Lincoln whenever he needs help, and they've always, tried to help him out. But the difference there, as opposed to this episode, is that in the previous episodes, their methods were actually good. Like, their actions were actually acceptable. They were, you can see why they did this.
So I have to say, when it came to, when they went up to stage and just pretty much stopped the performance and said sorry to Lincoln, the fact that the crowd laughed at them, it's pretty much their punishment. Because, yeah, you pretty much ruined your best friend's like hope of becoming like a huge star in the magic show. And you pretty much like stopped them there. And it makes sense why they did that, because, let them become the embarrassment and let them apologize for what they've done. So to say the least, the guilt got to them, and it's a good thing that they did that, because it makes me feel like they are still compassionate for Lincoln, that they do care about him, that they feel really sorry about what they did to ruin his show, and had to pretty much go up there and just apologize and have the audience pretty much laugh at them. But you know what? That's what they deserve after what they did to Lincoln.
Yeah, honestly, I think the ending was kind of fixed their character. Like, it doesn't necessarily 100% fix what they did, but at the very least, they did realize what they did was wrong, and they did get karma for it. So, honestly, that's not the only karma that they do receive. Honestly, we're gonna get to that right now.
Yeah. So, with their apology, Lincoln would bring out his magic tricks and would put on a show. Literally a great show that would impress the middle school crowd. So the show would change their minds about magic. And the best part is that Lincoln would forgive them by having them in the show. How did you like the ending of this episode?
Lincoln put on a really good show. Hell yeah. Like, honestly, I really love how he made a surprise comeback and just wowed everyone with how amazing his magic tricks are. And not to mention, this is the extra karma that I was talking about that Lincoln's friends deserve, is that they pretty much are quote unquote volunteers. Well, actually, Lincoln sort of drags them into it. And then like Lincoln kind of makes a fool out of his friends. It's just really awesome to see. It's just kind of hilarious. This proves that Lincoln's friends' preconceived notions are entirely wrong. And this really shows one of the best things about Lincoln's character. Like I said before, he's proud of the things that he loves, no matter how it's preconceived as geeky. We have seen that pride shown with his love for magic, Ace Savvy, and Arg, like I previously mentioned earlier. And to be honest, I believe this episode is the best case example.
I have to say, I like Lincoln a whole lot more after this episode. Look, he had a lot of shit that happened to him, especially before the show, and the fact that his friends still don't like magic and stuff like that. I like the fact that he tried to prove them wrong in this with the show that he did, and he ended up being like a huge how do I say this? He turned out to be a huge star. All the junior high audience loved him, and the other thing too is that he's just very forgiving and stuff. Like they're really apologetic for what they did to Lincoln, and Lincoln forgave him. The friend group is absolutely wholesome, and the fact that Lincoln is the leader of this group, and the fact that Lincoln is just an amazing character, just makes you like him even more. And it just makes me feel like Lincoln is learning also. Like he's building his character. He's absolutely compassionate. He might have some bad terms with his friends, but at the same time, he knows that it's his friends, so he has to forgive him for it. And it's just absolutely great to see Lincoln change character like that. It just makes me love him even more, just seeing him as a magician, as a great friend like that.
I agree.
So, anything else you want to bring up in this episode?
Yep. Let's just say if anything that this episode clearly proves is that Ronnie Ann is Lincoln's truest friend. Boom. I said it.
What?
Ronnie Ann is Lincoln's truest friend.
She's the only one who actually likes magic. compared to everybody else.
Do you want to know why?
Why?
Because Ronnie Ann has always been supportive of his magic, and she would have been totally on board with him performing magic at the talent show. Just watch Horoscope and Saved by the Spell back to back. You will see the difference. The difference is day and night. Honestly, part of me wanted Ronnie Ann to appear in this episode so that she could call out Lincoln's friends and shame them for their actions. Like, honestly, I'm just waiting for a fan fiction of that to happen. Yes.
Something's gonna happen. Just wait, something's probably gonna happen.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right about that. I mean, I would imagine Ronnie Ann coming in and just being a part of that audience and just appreciating what Lincoln has done compared to his friends, who's just like magic. And then Ronnie Ann just comes in and says like, yes, shows off to you. I'm like, his magic is unbelievable. Watch it for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Shame on you all.
Exactly.
Shame on you all. Legal Lounge should just move into Great Lakes Cities with me.
You're making us Roddy Kid fans getting all hyped about this. All right. To Destino. All right. What's your rating on this episode?
You know what? I'm giving this episode a 6.5 out of 10.
Wow, so you're dark on that, really?
The extra 0.5 being Lincoln Loud himself. If not for the fact that Lincoln Loud was so amazing in this episode, it easily would have been a 6. I mean, it's his character that was so good in this episode. I just had to give this episode an extra boost. But aside from that, this episode manages to be, honestly, one of the weaker season 5 episodes, in my opinion, mainly due to how Lincoln's friends' closed-minded behaviors and how they looked down on his interest in magic. Honestly, those factors really, like I said, it really brought this episode down a notch. And also, like I said, YOLO boy, just makes my head hurt.
Don't play Stella. Don't play Stella. She tried her best and convinced me out. She tried her best to convince me out.
Is so stupid. So stupid.
It's Stella's
worst.
It could be Stella's worst moment, but I still love her.
You're better than this. Come on, Stella. You're smarter than this.
No,
you fix a computer, for God's sake. In a comic,
I know she's a tech. Yeah. Okay. So I have a different rating. I have a different rating for this.
And here's another thing. And while Lincoln's friends did come to the realization at the end that what they did was wrong, it was only in the last 2 minutes of the episode. So honestly, overall, while it is one of Lincoln's strongest appearances, it's also definitely one of season 5's weakest episodes.
So I have a different aspect on that. I actually thought this was actually pretty entertaining. I just love the fact that they continue on with continuation in this Loud House episode. They have Lincoln doing a lot of magic. You get to see Stella. All of Lincoln's friends pretty much hate magic, and you totally see that from Antiqued Off. It moves over to Saved by the Spell. And it just moves. It just like continues on from that story about Lincoln's magic and his friends not liking it. So I would imagine if they're gonna have another magic episode, that Lincoln's friends are probably going to support him for that now. But besides that, I just felt like everything was like made perfectly in this episode. Just the fact that like Lincoln's trying to show off his magic. I understand his friends are doing his best to show, not let him do magic. And then, of course, it pays. It all pays a price because at the end you get to see, his friend Lincoln not liking his friends anymore, and then Lincoln's friends just continuing to get embarrassed. But at the end, they apologize. Lincoln pull on a great show, and I would imagine magic becoming a huge thing now for the Loud House. Just wait, maybe another Lincoln magic episode. He might actually put off a really good show. Maybe performing with Luann. I don't know. It could be a good thing to see Lincoln move on and do well with magic. Just wait for another future Magic Lincoln episode.
Now that you mention it, I would imagine there being a Lincoln and Luann episode, like have it be, magician versus clown, or have magician Lincoln and clown Luann working together. Like I have a feeling that they would either be partners or they would be enemies, either or. Oh, and also, I am hoping that No Bus, No Fuss it really does redeem Lincoln's Friends characters. Like honestly, I hope that Lincoln's Friends they're portrayed much better in No Buzz No Fuss than they are here.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes, and we'll have our preview of that episode later on in this LoudCasa Talks mini episode. All right, so that's it for the Loud House episodes that came out last Friday. Let's move on to the Casagrandes episodes, and the first one that came out is The Kid Plays in the Picture. So the synopsis here says, let's look here. Yeah, Carl's love for toys gets him caught in a whirlwind toy review career. Now, this all began with a cause that he wanted to get an El Falcon toy that he had to wait till his birthday for. So he did what Carlotta does and makes videos reviewing toys with Carlotta's help. He turned out to be very successful, so it's nothing surprising to see that he's getting the easy way of getting these toys. So are you not surprised with what Carl is doing here? Also, do you think he would be a great toy reviewer?
Honestly, from what we've seen of Carl in this entire series, it doesn't surprise me one bit that he would cook up this scheme. So yes, it is another Carl cooks up a scheme episodes, but however, the execution of it is what truly makes this Carl episode stand out for reasons we'll get to later. But also, yes, I would definitely say that Carl will make a great toy reviewer and YouTuber, as long as he has Sergio, of course.
So I pretty much am thinking that this episode was made because of a very popular toy reviewer called Ryan, and he has his own show on Nickelodeon, by the way. So it makes sense why like the youngest person who loves money would obviously want to do an old show. So he tries his best to make some toys. I'm not surprised that they picked Carl in this. He is that conniving, and the fact that he does this throughout the episode, it makes sense to have him be a part of this. And to be honest, he can have a good career with reviewing toys, but at the same time, it's got to be his favorite toys. All right.
El Falcon.
And the El Falcon toy looks cool.
The El Falcon Fortress. Oh my god. That is every kid's dream to have that toy.
Maybe for Carl, I don't know about El Falcon. Who is this El Falcon? So he would be successful with Sergio and Carl both fighting for a toy. It would bring a lot of viewers, and it has a new title called Get Your Own. It would make sense that the popularity would bring in companies who would make them sign contracts for them to review toys, which led them to a deep rabbit hole of no free time. Were you surprised that Carl did this?
Okay, now here's where the episode truly shines, because whereas Carl's other schemes in other episodes end up backfiring and becoming unsuccessful, his scheme here becomes too successful and ends up working too well. It shows what happens when a scheme goes to complete opposite extreme. We all expected Carl's life would be better after his toy reviewing career, but in reality, his life actually got worse. He missed breakfast pizza, he missed chocolate swimming pool, and worst of his day at the hypertrain with Adelaide. He had to miss that too. He had to miss his date in order to make toys. Oh, the horror. That toy woman is evil. How dare she? How dare she get in the way of Carl's potential train date with Adelaide? That woman is the devil. That woman really is the devil.
Well, she was the devil. Look at that contract. It has a freaking skull on it. But Carl, being so consumed with money and toys, pretty much signed a contract, and pretty much your punishment is that. You get a lot of toys, but you got to review it every dang minute. So, it kind of stinks. But the other thing, too, is that I think Sergio is also being guilty as well, because he pretty much told Carl, hey, stop, we have to do this. Hey, stop, we got to do that. So you pretty much lost a lot of potential from that breakfast pizza, that train ride with Adelaide, or even like a pool party with, Vito, for example. So, yeah, this is what happens when you sign a big contract. So, yeah.
It's Sergio. Of course that he would really be invested in this, because it's Sergio.
It's Sergio. He killed a freaking rooster. So
and also Sergio, dang it, let Paul be the hypertrain with Adelaide.
You want that correlate to happen. I know everybody does. I know all of you do. So Carl had to do something to get out of the contract and would have to review a toy only to say it sucks. And that toy was that El Falcon Fortress thing. How did you like the sequence where Carl had to fight his intentions to get out of a contract?
You know, I really liked how strong-willed Carl was in that scene. I mean, he's staring at the very toy that got him started in the toy reviewing biz in the first place. And just the fact that he had to destroy his most precious prize, the main reason, what drove him to the situation in the first place, the fact that he had to destroy his most prized possession just to get out of a contract, let me tell you, that took a lot of guts.
For Carl, though, I mean, he had to go out and review a toy that he really loves, and I know that he's trying to fight his intentions. He's trying to slap his face and say like, "This is a bad toy." Oh, blah blah blah, and he even destroyed it even on camera, which made him get out of his contract. But it's a huge sacrifice, and Carl learning from his intentions to not get stuck with a contract and get out of his binding agreement of trying to review toys and stuff like that. Good for Carl in this case. He got into a shitty situation and he got out of it by sacrificing something for it.
Yeah, honestly, took a lot of guts, like I said.
Took a lot of guts indeed, yeah. So, anything else you want to bring up in this episode?
Yes, fun fact, people. Christina V voices the delivery lady in this episode. Christina V!
By the way, you know that I interviewed her before. I think you remembered.
It's actually true. Nate, you actually did.
I did interview Christina V before. I gotta go. Yeah, I probably could put the link up into my.
And she appears in this episode. You should be proud.
I didn't know.
You should be proud.
I didn't know about that. It wasn't until somebody said something on Twitter that says Christina V is a part of the Casagrandes. I'm like, what? But a delivery girl. Oh, okay, something small. But Christina V, she's in anime, and she's in this episode. Maybe you can get more of the delivery girl. All right. That's it. Anything else? No.
And also, here's the moral of the story: never sell your soul to a toy-making company, because trust me, it's like selling your soul to the devil, a toy-dealing devil. I give this an 8.5 out of 10. This manages to be one of Carl's strongest episodes because of how much of a unique approach that the episode took, showing how even a successful scheme can end up being very damaging at the end.
Yeah, I'll have to give this. It wasn't that entertaining to me. I mean, this is pretty much a Carl episode where he wanted to get a toy and he tries his best to, get a way around it by reviewing toys, to get a successful career, and it worked. But at the same time, don't deal with contracts and stuff like that. And Carl just never learns. He just loves to get more toys, and it ended up biting him in the butt. So, like I said, 7 out of 10. It wasn't really that entertaining, but I have to say, maybe a good learning lesson for Carl to not mess up with people and just think about, earning your own toy instead of other things. All right, so let's head over to our last episode of the Casagrandes that came out last Friday. It's called Icky Breaking Art. The synopsis here is that Frida's art gets a bad review, so the kids try to stage a new auction to lift their spirits. So, what do you think? So, Frida, as you know, is an artist with a reviewer coming in to tell her that her art is truly breathtaking. You were expecting something positive from Mr. Alcaraz. If you don't know Mr. Alcaraz, you're not watching the Casagrandes.
That guy.
Instead, it got way different. How did you feel about this?
Well, let's just say this. Everyone, grab your pitchforks and torches. It's time for the Alcaraz hunt.
Right.
Alcaraz.
Wait. Lalo Alcaraz is not a good guy. What are you talking about? He made the show.
Just the critic himself, not the actual person, just the critic himself. But seriously, who would have thought a review could be so vile, so nasty? And just the part where it said she should give up art, oh God, that just hurt the most. Oh my God, you tore her heart, her achy breaking heart.
Okay,
I just don't think you understand. Really, the episode's title was inspired by the actual song. No joke.
Right. I know what it is, but yeah, you know what? It's just very.
See, Luna Loud, you're not the only one who can reference songs.
Oh my God. So yeah, I mean, this is this is like a hardship for Frida, for example. I mean, the thing is like Mr. Alcaraz came into the art studio, looked at her art, and said it was truly breathtaking. So I would imagine Frida having a very positive attitude. She loved it on that night. But of course, the morning of, she ended up with a bad review. And that just makes me feel like Mr. Alcaraz is a fucking liar. Absolutely not, speaking to his word. It just makes me feel like it just makes me feel like I hope we don't see him again, because look, what if another person draws art for the Casagrandes and he starts criticizing them? Oh my god, this is gonna be all bad. Like if Frida had it bad, let's see if somebody else got it bad.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, the Loud House has Chandler, the Casagrandes has this asshole.
Oh, there's more people there. We can talk more.
In terms of the worst, Alcaraz is definitely the worst in the Casagrandes.
Don't guys get confused with Lala Alcaraz. Lala Alcaraz made this show, but not this artist who's terrible.
Yeah, no, trust me. I am totally separating the actual real person from the character. The real person is actually really cool. The character, on the other hand, is anything but.
So the kids try their best to hide the review from getting rid of all the newspapers, cell phones, and even distracting Frida by interpretive dancing. But she would still eventually see the review, and hence the waterworks come in. Explain your reaction to this part.
The kids' actions in this episode do make sense when you consider Frida's character. Don't forget, this is Frida we're talking about, the most vulnerable character in the series, if not the universe. So, of course, they would try to hide the review, because when Frida's feelings get hurt, they really get hurt. This is the same woman that flooded an entire house with her tears. I mean, sure, they may have taken a dishonest route about it in terms of like hiding newspapers, hiding cell phones, and all that stuff. However, at the end of the day, it was done purely out of good intentions. Luckily, Frida, despite being a vulnerable crime machine, actually turns out to be a much stronger character than we expected at the end, for reasons we're going to get into shortly.
So yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised about Frida being all in the waterworks, but holy crap, she again flooded another apartment building, and it just gets me. Look! Yeah. The waterworks that Frida ever cries on. I mean, that's her like gimmick. Like she gets so dramatic that she tries waterfalls, and everybody gets like drowned and stuff like that. I just love that comedy bit, and Frida shows it off really well. And I just thought that. Look, she had it hard. She had so much high hopes, and then she ended up getting her heart broken by this critic. It makes sense why she ended up crying and drowned up the whole apartment. Oh man, I mean, look, and the other thing too is that the kids tried their best to, not let Frida watch the review. So you get to see Ronnie Ann take a lot of newspapers. Bobby tried to, I think, pee on paper, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, Lala did try to pee on the paper under Bobby's orders.
Oh, come on, Bobby. And then, of course, Carlota just taking everybody's cell phone. So, they're trying their best to not let Frida review the art, and apparently that still failed. So, in the end, the kids will try their best to make that auction up. And it would happen, and they would do anything to bid for Frida's artwork, which turned out to work really well because Carl was pretty much in the background, just tickling everybody, getting everybody to throw up their hands. That is until Abuelo bid it on a $5,000 art piece. They would eventually be found.
Dang it, Hector. He was really funny though. Hector was really funny in the episode. I'll lie.
He was. He's just a sleepyhead. If you remember the previous episode too. So they would eventually find out by Frida. How did you like the kids from making Frida successful even after a bad review?
Honestly, I really do love the kids' intentions there. It really does show that they would go to any amount of, they would go to any lengths to make sure that Frida doesn't get her feelings hurt, and also to make sure that Frida doesn't quit being an artist, because she's really passionate about her art. And honestly, the kids, they don't want to see her passion being taken away from her, all because of some snooty asshole. So honestly, I really do love the amount of lengths that they will go to. They will do whatever it takes to protect Frida, protect her feelings, and protect her career.
it just feels like Casagrandes never back down, and whenever somebody feels so sad, everybody comes in to help her out. And I just love the fact that everybody from Ronnie Ann, Bobby, and all of the Casagrandes kids pretty much tries their best to help Frida out. No doubt about it. I mean, like, look, Frida had a huge heartbreak when it comes to a review that she thought was great, turned out to be really bad, and the hard feelings that they got from Frida's heartbreak, they need to do something to help Frida out of this situation. So they did this auction, and it turned out to be pretty well. Well, not to say the least. I mean, the fact that Carl pretty much made them bid on the stuff. But you know what? It's just the fact that they're trying to be supportive for Frida and all, and I thought that was just really great. Now, Frida would teach them a lesson though, because an artist pretty much draws a lot of stuff, and the thing is, like, you will get a lot of bad reviews given to you. The thing is that artists need to have thick skin for bad reviews, and would show off her new works at the end of the episode, which had a lot of people actually bidding for it, except for Mr. Alcaraz himself.
Yeah, no surprise.
Now her lesson really does give a good vibe for all of us. Don't you agree?
Yes, it really does give good vibes. I honestly was very impressed by how strong Frida really showed herself to be. Just the fact that she didn't let a single review get to her or make her quit art, it really does set an example for all creators of all kinds, whether it be artists, chefs, YouTubers, actors, directors, producers, or authors. I was so proud of Frida, and she managed to have a thick skin when it comes to bad reviews. The message of this episode is something that I believe all people of all talents of any kind should take to heart. To Achy Breaking Art.
I know you're gonna go up that. I know you're going to lead into that. But yeah, I mean, look, I really like Frida. I think she's a really awesome character, besides the fact that she's so dramatic and has a lot of waterworks coming out of her eyes. The thing is that she is like something that we can learn for artists. Like, even by me myself, I could call myself a mediocre artist or a novice artist. And I'll get a lot of people who will say like, your art sucks, or you can't do characters right, etc., etc. So I'll take that harsh criticism, but at the same time, I'll just let it blow off me. I won't get too dramatic. I won't stop my career. I mean, this is what Frida does. This is pretty much what Frida shows, and it's just amazing to see it from her, from a character that I really like from the Casagrandes.
Yeah, as a novice artist myself also, like, this is something that I've learned to take to heart as well. In case I do get a bad or nasty comment saying, oh, your art sucks and all this stuff, I just just brush it off, like do what Frida did, like take note from Frida and just continue doing what you love, and don't let anyone get to you, or don't let anyone, make you quit. No, you just continue to prove them wrong, and just say, hey, everyone else loves my art. If you don't, that's entirely your loss.
Yeah, I mean, just do your own thing and all. All right. So, anything else you want to bring up in this episode?
Yes, for once, Sergio actually did something right in the series.
Oh.
Like, she actually did something. Sergio actually did something that actually helps benefit his family for once. It's a miracle, isn't it? By flinking Mr. Alcaraz into the trash where he belongs at the very end of the episode, he actually managed to make a positive contribution in this episode. So honestly, credit where credit is due right there. Nice job, Sergio. Also, this episode gets an 8.5 out of 10. This episode manages to be strong with its message, its heart, and its family bond. And though the kids may have done all of this, like through hiding all the phones, newspapers, etc., it was done purely out of the goodness of their hearts and out of their love for Frida, which I highly admire.
Yeah, I would have to give the same rating as well, an 8 out of 10, because it was just really good. I just like the fact that the kids are doing their best to help every Casagrande out when it comes to like troubling situations. So, like in this case where Frida gets her art criticized really harshly by this one critic, they try their best to help Frida out by doing this auction thing, and it turned out to do pretty well. It's just that they just want to make sure that she could be very successful. So yeah, I would have to say not bad of an episode, but it was really good to hear. I mean, a Frida episode has always been was always a fun episode for me, and this really shows it off with just the fact that she's maybe dramatic, but at the same time, you also get to see Ronnie Ann, Bobby, and everybody else try to be supportive for Frida, and that's what the Casagrandes family is all about, just try to be supportive and all, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, honestly, like, I really do admire what they did with Frida's character, because this episode could have easily been Frida reading the review and pretty much either going into depression the entire episode, or having her quit art altogether just because of one bad review, which honestly would have been pretty petty, but understandable because it is Frida's character. But this episode manages to make her, such a strong woman and just such a strong-willed artist that honestly, I would definitely say, like, this is Frida at her very best. Like, this is honestly Frida with the best development right there.
I would say one of my favorite episodes from Frida, but then again, my favorite episode would still go to Misstep.
Misstep is up there too. Misstep is up there as well.
Yeah, don't forget about that episode. That's one of my favorites. All right, so that's it for episode reviews. So let's head over, just talk about a quick second for our episode previews as we talk about the newest episodes coming out on Friday for 2 Loud House episodes and 2 Casagrandes episodes. So let's start it off with No Bus, No Fuss. So the synopsis here is Lincoln and his friends try to find another way to get to school after a run-in with 8th grade bullies. So after seeing all the previews and the synopsis here, what are your thoughts on this episode?
Oh boy, man. And I thought Chandler was a handful, but 8th grade bullies, and they're 6th graders, mind you. Like, these bullies aren't even 7th graders, they're 8th graders. Man, that's going to be a tough hurdle to go over, no lie. I really do feel sorry for Lincoln and his friends getting beaten to a pulp, not just picked on, but also getting beaten to a pulp. We even see Stella get beaten up.
Who the hell beats up Stella? I hate that one emo girl.
Honestly, it makes me want to just hunt them down for what they did to that poor girl.
Yeah.
I mean, yes. I just mentioned, like, I just ranted about Stella and her actions in Saved by the Spell, but even in spite of that, like, she still doesn't deserve to go through what she went through here. I don't believe any of Lincoln's friends deserve to go through what they did here in No Bus, No Fuss, honestly. And I really do hope that they find some way to get back at the 8th grade bullies, whether it be them cooking up a scheme, Lincoln Man with a Plan, or honestly, I would say have Lynn Loud involved in this. Like, rather it be her train them to be fighters, or rather it be Lynn Loud fighting the battles for them. Honestly, this is one of those episodes where anything is possible.
Right. I have to say that this is going to be a pretty interesting episode. Look, we already saw the preview of No Bus No Fuss with them pretty much got beat up by those 8th graders. And then after that, we get to see them trying to do other ways to get to school. So it's kind of like that one Victorious episode where Tori couldn't be able to go to school because something happened. We were filming something, and then she needed another way to get to school. So it's kind of like that, but with Lincoln's friends. So you get to see Zach and his parents being all weird and alien-like. I also did get to see the best friends pretty much just flying a plane, which I didn't know about. They're gonna have a lot of ways for them to get to school. So I would imagine Clyde's dad's being a part of it. You get to see probably Lynn Sr. going to drive them somewhere. And maybe you get to see Stella's mom or dad pretty much do something to get them to school. So I would imagine each of the best friends pretty much doing their best to get them to school. But at the end, I would imagine them going back on the bus, but something had to happen to those 8th graders. And I would imagine, this is me personally, I just hope that, like, I don't know what would get the 8th graders to pretty much stop them from being bullies. Maybe you might be right, Omid. Lynn might be there to help out in this situation. I'm not going to be surprised if Chandler actually comes in and actually beats up those 8th graders.
Really?
Yeah,
You think Chandler would stand?
I just have a feeling like, look, bully versus bully. So Chandler might, be the person who might get bullied now instead of, Lincoln and everybody else. I don't
Honestly,
know.
I have to disagree because when you really look at Chandler, he is a shrimp compared to the 8th grade bullies. Like
I don't know.
Chandler is a shrimp.
But like bully versus bully. I mean, why don't we have that 6th grade bully versus 8th grade bully? I mean, that could be a situation. Look, it could be like a huge thing happening on the bus. It's like, hey, you beat up. Hey, I'm the one who can beat up Lincoln, not you guys. Wrestle from there.
It's going to be hard to see which is the lesser evil, though.
Right. I mean, like, one can think. That's my prediction. So, yeah. But besides that, I just hope this episode's going to be fun. I feel like this is going to be a pretty fun episode. Let's see how Lincoln and his friends situate with this whole bus situation. All right, so let's move over to the next episode that'll also air on Friday. It's called Resident Upheaval. The episode reads, Lincoln and Stella are at odds. Oh, not Lincoln and Clyde. Sorry, not Stella. Lincoln and Clyde are at odds when they discover there's only room for one of their grandmas in Sunset Canyon, which is Nana Gale versus Myrtle. So, Ami, what are your thoughts on this episode?
Just like with any other Clink and McCloud episode, it's one of those episodes where, it's one of those episodes where I'm definitely going to watch, of course, because it's a Loud House episode. I don't think it'll be one of the strongest season 5 episodes, but it'll still be a fun Clink and McCloud episode for what it is. Honestly, one particular thing that I'm really excited for the most is seeing Nana Gale, like Clyde's grandma, because we never really see Clyde's grandma prior to this episode. So I want to see what she's like.
Yeah, so the other thing, too, is that we keep hearing about Nana Gale, and now we get to see her over in this episode. But the other thing, too, is that we never see a Clink and McCloud episode where Lincoln and Clyde fight since, what was it?
Intern for the Worst.
Yeah, that's the last time we actually get to see Lincoln and Clyde fight. I can't wait to see how this goes down because from the previews we've seen, Lincoln and Clyde pretty much were dressed up as Myrtle and Nana Gale, and they were just pretty much fighting for that room.
Honestly, I can't be the only one who found Lincoln disguised as Myrtle to be pretty cringe.
You think it was pretty cringe? A lot of people actually was laughing at that. I thought it was actually pretty funny just to see Lincoln dress up as Myrtle. I thought it was great. Look, he pulled it off really well. Apparently, Clyde likes his makeup skills. So
apparently, but honestly, I'm just wondering, like, are the people at Sunset Canyon really going to fall for Lincoln's disguise? Because wouldn't they be questioning, okay, when did Myrtle get smaller and shorter?
Then again, they're old, so I guess that whatever they see works. Now, I do have one more question to point out because we do get to go back to Sunset Canyon. The other thing too is Pop Pop because we already know that his voice actor passed away.
May he rest in peace.
What are your chances to see Pop Pop again?
Honestly, I feel that in this episode, he may appear, but I don't think he'll speak, honestly, because I think by the time this episode was even made in the first place, Fred Willow probably passed away by then. So, honestly, I can imagine them, like, what I really hope is that at the very end, the episode does pay tribute to Fred Willard. That's what I'm hoping happens. But in the long run, I would imagine Pop-Up appearing in more episodes again, but it's just a voice actor that's going to be replaced because they did the same with Mermaid Man. When the original voice actor of Mermaid Man died in SpongeBob, they replaced him with another voice actor. I would imagine them doing so here.
It's okay. But yeah, I would imagine, I would think that he would not appear in this episode. It's just more like Nana Gale and Myrtle pretty much, competing over for a room. I would imagine maybe like 1 or 2 minutes of Pop-Up. But the other thing too is like maybe a non-speaking role. Or if he speaks, it could be Fred Willard. Because the other thing too is that the recording may have been done like months before he passed away. So who knows how this goes, but this is going to be an interesting take if Fred Willard or Pop-Up actually does appear. And if he does have a change of voice, then we already know what's going to happen. They're going to continue on with Pop-Up, but without the real original voice of Pop-Up himself.
May Fred Willard rest in peace.
Oh yes. Okay, yeah, you're right. Pop up does appear in this episode, so yeah, mistake there. Okay, so let's head over to the new Casagrandes episode. Now, here's the other thing too about these new Casagrandes episodes. We have already seen it. If you haven't watched it on
Yes,
Amazon
we
Prime,
have.
if you already saw it on Amazon Prime, you already know that these two episodes have already appeared. So, to say the least, we'll just give you a small little segment of what this episode will entail without spoiling it for you. So, first episode that will come out will be Guilt Trip. Synopsis here is Ronnie Ann and her primos try to win a round trip for Maria. All right, so this episode is already, like I said, already aired on Amazon Prime. Obi, try your best to give a little preview of this episode without spoiling anything.
Okay, now I previously mentioned in another podcast that this is my favorite Casagrandes episode of 2020. And the reason being is the amount of lengths that Ronnie and Bobby would go to in order to give their mother Maria the trip that she deserves because she's been working so hard to provide for them. Honestly, and Ronnie and Bobby realizing that the reason why she couldn't travel was because she had to work to provide for them. It really hit me hard right here. It really hit me hard, especially as a son of a respiratory therapist myself. Like it kind of hits hard for me. So, and also Ronnie Ann and Bobby, they have such a great sibling dynamic that I want to see more of upcoming future episodes. I love the dynamic duo. They team up to give Maria the trip that she deserves, like whether it be Japan, Italy, or a worldwide trip. And let's just say that, like in the middle and especially in the end, is where things really do get touching, and it really does show the genuine bond between Ronnie and Bobby and Maria. Honestly, this episode had a lot of heart, a lot of humor, a lot of laughs, everything about this episode makes it one of Casagrande's best episodes to date. It really it's so amazing. You should definitely check it out.
Pretty much like put out most of the episode. I said no spoilers, but some of it already got leaked there. But to say the least, like yeah, like look, this is a good episode for Ronnie Ann and Bobby because you never get to see sibling episodes like this, so expect that. There's just a lot of opportunity for those two to be, get the sibling bond that you always get to see, like with Lincoln and his sisters. So, and the other thing too is that this is also a partial Maria episode because you get to see Maria being all well. The other thing too is that you get to see Maria just, why she's so passionate about traveling and things like that. So, get ready to see what the Ronnie and Bobby will do, and even Carl, CJ, and everybody else try to help out Maria in this case. I would say get ready for this episode because I would imagine most of you guys would probably like it.
Yeah, you definitely will. You definitely will.
All right. So that pretty much is it for Guilt Trip. Let's head over to our next episode too, called Shortcut. The synopsis here is when Carlota fails at haircutting, she trains with CJ, the master barber. So, like I said, this episode's already aired on Amazon Prime. Omi, try your best to not spoil it for everybody, but give your little snippet of what you want everybody to see coming into this episode.
Well, I really do love the bond that Carlota and CJ have in this episode. It's really rare that we get a Carlota-centric episode or a CJ-centric episode, at least compared to the other kids, the other Casagrandes. The amount of Carlota and CJ episodes are pretty thin. So it's actually really nice to see these two have their own episode together. And let's just say the dynamic here is just really sweet. It's just, the bond is so genuine. And let's just say that this episode really does highlight CJ's very positive traits, that he's so helpful and that he's willing to go to lengths to help his family.
Most definitely. Now, how I could explain this for you guys, you never expect Carlota to actually cut hair or to have Carlota fail at cutting hair. I would imagine her being a good fashionista, but she's been failing it. And the other thing, too, is you get to see a lot of Margarita, by the way. If you're a fan of Margarita, she's also appearing in this episode. And don't underestimate CJ. Look, we never had a CJ episode in so long. This focuses on CJ a whole lot. You will probably like CJ a whole lot more when you watch this episode, especially when you see Carlota try to struggle and having CJ pretty much be the person to help out with Carlota's situations. So definitely an awesome CJ episode. And the fact that also Carlota is also a part of this episode and she's having trouble and they need CJ's help in this case. You would be surprised at what CJ will do. And yeah, that's all I can say because I don't really want to spoil it. It's actually also a pretty good episode.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Anything else you want to bring up before we close up the episode?
Let's just say that CJ has a bright future ahead of him as a barber. That's all I'm going to say.
All right. All right. Well, that's pretty much it for our episode reviews and previews for this week. We'll be back next week to review the newest episodes that we just previewed. So get ready for another LoudCasa Talks mini episode next week. But for those who are listening in, thank you very much for listening in or watching in our YouTube page. Just remember that you can listen to our LoudCasa Talks wherever you listen to podcasts, Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts, you can listen to the LoudCasa Talks there. And you can also check out our YouTube page where we always upload our LoudCasa Talks recordings here on YouTube. And just if you guys like our YouTube channel, please subscribe and hit that bell button so you get notified about what our next live stream will be. All right, so that's pretty much it for our little mini episode. So thank you very much for listening in. My name is Nate.
And my name is Omid, saying that thank you all so much for your support. Thank you all so much for watching our podcast, listening to our podcast. Just thank you so much for pretty much listening to what we have to say. And this is Omid saying, like, keep watching, keep listening, keep supporting. And until next time, smell you later, dudes.
All right. Thank you very much for listening in. We'll see you guys on the next one.